The creature lunged before I could blink. Claws like obsidian daggers slashed through the air where my throat had been a heartbeat earlier. I hit the ground hard, rolling sideways as the transport bay's artificial gravity pulled me into a stumble. The thing, whatever it was, landed where I'd stood, its 6 legs absorbing the impact with predatory grace. Its eyeless head swiveled toward me, nostrils flaring as it tasted the fear sweat now coating my skin. Containment breach, I gasped into my comm, scrambling backward. Deck 7, section. The creature pounced again. This time I didn't dodge fast enough. One claw caught my shoulder, shredding through my uniform and drawing a line of fire across my skin. I screamed, throwing up my arm instinctively. The beast's weight crushed me against the metal floor, its breath hot and rank against my face. I could see its throat now, pulsing with some internal bioluminescence, blue and hypnotic and utterly alien. My hand found the emergency stun baton at my belt. I jammed it upward, connecting with what I hoped was something vital. The creature shrieked, a sound like tearing metal, and recoiled. I didn't wait. I ran. The corridor ahead split into 3 directions. I chose left, sprinting past cargo containers and maintenance panels while my shoulder screamed protest. Behind me, claws scraped against metal. It was following, and it was faster than any living thing had a right to be. I'd been on the ISS Covenant for exactly 4 hours. 4 hours since the Jacques Durai delegation had arrived with their gifts, their bonded companions, they called them. Creatures from 1,000 worlds, each supposedly matched to one of us through some mystical alien process the Queen herself had overseen. Everyone else had gotten something manageable. Jenkins got a floating jellyfish thing that hummed pleasant melodies. Dr. Okoye received a crystalline cat that purred in harmonics. Even Captain Marshall, stoic as ever, seemed pleased with his sleek fox-like companion. Then they'd brought me mine. I'd known something was wrong the moment I saw the restraints. 12 Zoctari handlers, each wearing full exosuits, had guided a reinforced containment unit into my quarters. Through the semi-opaque walls, I'd seen only shadow and movement. Too much movement, too aggressive to be anything meant for companionship. There's been a mistake, I'd said. The lead handler, a female Jacques Durai with silver crest feathers, had made that clicking sound they used for negation. Queen Shirvala does not make mistakes. This one chose you. This one called for you specifically. Called for me? I've never even... It sensed you across the void. It sang your resonance. They'd opened the container before I could protest further. The creature had emerged like a nightmare made flesh, all wrong angles and predatory grace, and the first thing it did was fixate on me with an intensity that made my hindbrain scream. The Jacques Durai had released the restraints. That's when it attacked. I burst through a pressure door, slamming the emergency lock behind me. The creature hit the door seconds later with enough force to dent the reinforced titanium. I kept running, my mind racing faster than my feet. The Queen doesn't make mistakes. Everyone had repeated that like gospel since the Jacques Durai had made contact 6 months ago. Their predictive abilities, their understanding of biological compatibility, it had revolutionized everything from medicine to psychology. They'd ended wars, cured diseases, bridged species through their gift of perfect matching. But this was murder wearing the skin of destiny. The corridor ahead opened into the main observation deck. Bad choice. Nowhere to hide among the transparent aluminum viewing ports showing the infinite black beyond. But the junction behind me offered no better options. I could hear the creature tearing through the door I'd sealed. Metal shrieked. Something vital ruptured, sending a spray of pressurized coolant into the corridor. I grabbed a fire extinguisher off the wall, hefting it like a club. Pathetic weapon against something that had shrugged off a stun baton, but my options were limited. The door behind me exploded outward, sending fragments skittering across the floor. The creature emerged through the steam and smoke, moving with deliberate slowness now. It had stopped hunting. Now it was stalking. Easy, I whispered, knowing it was useless. The thing had no eyes to meet, no expression to read. It was alien in every sense, unknowable, unstoppable. It took one step forward, then another. The bioluminescence in its throat pulsed faster, brighter. I raised the extinguisher, knowing it wouldn't be enough, knowing I had maybe seconds before those claws found my throat. The creature's nostrils flared again. It tilted its head, that gesture eerily similar to a confused dog. Then impossibly, it sat. I stood frozen, extinguisher raised, waiting for the trick. The creature remained motionless except for that pulsing light in its throat. The pulse slowed, steadied, matched the rhythm of my own terrified heartbeat. The comm on my collar crackled. Specialist Vance, this is Captain Marshall. What's your status? I couldn't answer, couldn't move. The creature's head lowered, pressing against the floor in what any human would call a bow. The bioluminescence dimmed to a soft glow. It wasn't attacking anymore, it was waiting. Waiting for me to understand something I couldn't possibly understand. The Queen doesn't make mistakes echoed in my head, but this time the words felt different. Less like comfort and more like warning. I'd been matched with this thing, this perfect killer, for a reason. I just had to survive long enough to figure out why. The creature raised its head, nostrils still working. Behind me, I heard the observation deck's main entrance cycle open. Boots on metal. Security team, probably. Come to save me from my designated companion. The creature's body tensed, and I realized with dawning horror that it wasn't threatened by me. It was threatened for me. The first security officer appeared in the doorway, rifle raised. The creature's throat flared bright blue. I had maybe a second to decide. Let them shoot what might be trying to kill me, or protect what had been chosen as mine. I dropped the extinguisher and stepped between them. My hand rose, palm out, toward the security team. Behind me, the creature went utterly still. The officer's finger was already on the trigger. "Don't," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Don't shoot." Captain Marshall pushed past the security team, his sharp eyes assessing the scene in an instant. His fox companion perched on his shoulder, ears twitching nervously. "Vance, step aside. That thing has already injured you." It stopped. I kept my hand raised, blocking their line of fire. "It stopped, sir. It's not attacking anymore." "Not attacking right now," Marshall corrected. His hand moved to his sidearm. "The Jacques Dory handlers are dead, Specialist. All 12 of them, we found them in your quarters. This creature is too dangerous to leave alive." The words hit me like physical blows. Dead. The handlers who'd brought this thing to me, who'd released it, who'd sworn the Queen made no mistakes, all dead. I felt the creature shift behind me, felt the heat of its body close enough to touch. It hadn't killed them while hunting me. It had killed them before. "Why?" I whispered, not sure if I was asking Marshall, the creature, or myself. Marshall's jaw tightened. "Does it matter?" "Move aside, Specialist. That's an order." I should have obeyed. Should have let them put down the monster that had murdered 12 beings and hunted me through the corridors like prey. But something stopped me, that moment when it had bowed, when its heartbeat had synchronized with mine, when it chose protection over predation. "It killed them defending itself," I said, the words forming as I spoke them, intuition pulling facts into alignment. "The restraints. You saw how many they used. They weren't transporting a companion. They were transporting a prisoner. The Queen chose this one for me, yes, but the handlers didn't trust that choice. They kept it restrained, treated it like a weapon." I took a breath, feeling the creature's presence at my back like a living shadow. "It didn't attack until they tried to force it into submission, and it stopped attacking me the moment I stopped treating it like a threat." Marshall's expression didn't change, but his hand moved away from his sidearm. His fox companion chirped something, a sound his translation implant rendered as, "Query caution, observe." The captain's head tilted slightly, considering. "You're asking me to trust your intuition over the evidence of 12 corpses. I'm asking you to trust the Queen's choice, sir? Isn't that what this entire program is built on? Perfect matching?" My shoulder throbbed where the creature's claws had caught me, but I pushed through the pain. It hurt me while running scared. It could have killed me a dozen times since then, but it didn't. The security team's rifles remained trained on the space just past my shoulder. I could feel their fingers on triggers, could sense their fear mixing with my own to create a volatile cocktail of possibility. One wrong move, one misinterpreted gesture, and this corridor would become an abattoir. The creature made a sound behind me, low, resonant, nothing like its earlier shrieks. The translation implant in my ear stuttered, trying to process alien phonemes into something meaningful. It settled on, "Waiting, trusting, chosen." "It's intelligent," I said softly, "not just trained or conditioned." "It understands." Marshall stepped forward, his movements careful and controlled. His fox companion tensed but remained silent. The captain studied the creature over my shoulder, his tactical mind processing variables I couldn't see. Finally he nodded once, sharp and decisive. "Lower weapons," he ordered. The security team hesitated. "Now." Rifles dropped to ready positions. The tension didn't break, but it bent slightly, giving us all room to breathe. Marshall's eyes locked with mine. "You're responsible for it, Vance. Completely. It harms anyone else, and I'll shoot it myself. Understood?" "Yes, sir. And you'll submit to full medical and psychological evaluation." Whatever the Queen saw in this matching, we need to understand it before this happens again. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Marshall gestured for his team to back away, creating space. Slowly, carefully, I turned to face the creature that had been chosen as mine. Up close, without the terror flooding my system, I could see details I'd missed. The obsidian claws were retracted now, showing softer pads beneath. The eyeless head had subtle ridge patterns that might serve as sensory organs. And that bioluminescence, now that it pulsed calm and steady, I could see patterns in it, rhythms that felt almost like language. I extended my hand, palm down, the way I might approach a nervous dog. The creature's nostrils flared. Its head moved forward, touching its muzzle to my fingertips. The skin there was surprisingly warm, and I felt a vibration running through it. A purr, maybe, or whatever this species used to signal contentment. "You chose me," I whispered. "Across the void, you chose me. Why?" The creature's throat pulsed. Chosen, recognized, needed. I didn't understand. Not really. But I had time to learn. Time to figure out what the Queen had seen when she'd matched a human security specialist with an apex predator from a world I'd never heard of. Time to understand why this perfect killing machine had called for me specifically. Behind me, Marshall cleared his throat. "The Jacques ambassador is requesting an audience. She wants to explain what happened. She says the Queen is troubled by the deaths." Troubled? The handlers acted without authorization. They were supposed to facilitate a meeting, not enforce containment. Marshall's expression darkened. Apparently this one species doesn't respond well to imprisonment. It's a cultural taboo among their kind. When the handlers tried to restrain it for transport, they essentially declared themselves enemies. I looked at the creature, my companion, though that word felt inadequate. It had killed to preserve its freedom, then stopped killing when it recognized I wasn't a threat, and somehow across light years and evolutionary divergence it had known we belonged together. "What's its name?" I asked. Marshall shook his head. "They don't use names the way we do. It would choose its own designation based on its bond with you." He paused. "If you survive long enough to form that bond." "We already started," I said, feeling the truth of it in the steady pulse of light from the creature's throat, in the way it leaned subtly toward me, in the warmth of its breath against my hand. Marshall studied us both for a long moment, then nodded. "Conference room 3, 1 hour. Bring your companion. The ambassador insists on apologizing directly to both of you." He turned to leave, then stopped. "Vance, the Queen doesn't make mistakes. Yes, sir, but humans do. Whatever you think you understand about this creature, remember it's killed before. It can kill again. Don't let empathy override survival instinct." He left with his security team, their footsteps echoing down the corridor until silence reclaimed the observation deck. I stood alone with the creature that had hunted me, hurt me, and then inexplicably chosen to protect me instead of destroy me. Slowly, I sat down on the floor. The adrenaline was crashing now, leaving me shaky and nauseous. My shoulder burned and I could feel blood soaking through my torn uniform. The creature watched me, its head tilting in that eerily familiar gesture. Then it moved closer, lowering itself to the floor beside me. Not quite touching, but near enough that I could feel its body heat. We sat like that for several minutes, two beings from different worlds trying to figure out what fate had bound them together. The creature's throat pulsed steadily, calm, safe, together. My translation implant offered interpretations, but I suspected the truth was simpler than language. This thing understood me in ways I didn't yet understand myself. "Okay," I said quietly. "You chose me. I'm choosing to trust that. But you've got to help me understand why." I touched my wounded shoulder, wincing. This can't happen again. "I need to know what sets you off, what calms you down, how to communicate. Because if you kill someone else, Marshall will put you down. And I don't think I want that anymore." The creature's head moved closer, its muzzle nearly touching my injured shoulder. That vibration intensified, resonating through my bones. The pain in my shoulder began to dull, replaced by a strange warmth. I pulled back my torn sleeve and stared. The claw marks were still there, but the bleeding had stopped. The edges of the wounds were already beginning to close, faster than any natural healing. "You're fixing me?" The pulse shifted. "Pack-injured heel." "Pack?" I laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. "Is that what we are, you and me? Chosen bonded pack?" The creature's certainty resonated in every pulse of light. I leaned back against the cold viewing port, feeling the infinite black of space behind me. Somewhere out there was the Zakhtari homeworld, where Queen Shirvala had looked into whatever mystical process they used and decided this deadly creature belonged with me, had seen something in me that matched something in this alien predator. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, I felt an odd sense of rightness, like a puzzle piece finally clicking into place. All right, partner. Guess we've got an hour to figure each other out before we face the ambassador. I stood, offering my hand again. The creature pressed its head against my palm, that purr vibration running through us both. And we need to find you a name. Can't keep calling you the creature if you're supposed to be my companion. The creature rose, moving with that liquid grace that had seemed so threatening minutes ago. Now standing beside me instead of hunting me, it looked almost majestic. Dangerous, yes. Lethally so. But also loyal in a way I recognized from every war dog, every guard animal, every creature that had ever chosen a human to protect. We walked together toward the medical bay, my hand resting lightly on its shoulder. Crew members we passed pressed themselves against the walls, fear evident in their faces. I couldn't blame them, but I also couldn't explain the bone-deep certainty I felt that this creature, this perfect killer, was exactly where it needed to be. The Queen doesn't make mistakes. Everyone kept saying it, but now I understood it differently. She hadn't made a mistake, she'd made a choice. And that choice had cost 12 lives because those handlers had doubted it, had tried to control what was meant to be free. I wouldn't make the same mistake. Whatever this creature needed from me, whatever I needed from it, we'd figure it out together. The bond was already forming, written in shared heartbeats and synchronized breathing, and the strange truth that sometimes the most dangerous things in the universe are the ones that choose to protect us. In the medical bay, Dr. Okoye took one look at my shoulder and reached for her instruments. Her crystalline cat hissed softly, pressing against her leg. The creature beside me tensed, throat flaring bright. "Easy," I murmured, hand still on its shoulder. To Okoye I said, "It's protective. Don't make sudden moves." She nodded, her professional calm never wavering. "The ambassador sent a medical brief while you were occupied. Your companion species has regenerative capabilities they can share with bonded partners. Those wounds should heal completely within 24 hours. Why didn't the Zakhtari mention any of this before? They assumed the handlers would facilitate a proper bonding ceremony. Without it, your companion defaulted to instinct. Protect what's yours, destroy what threatens." She began cleaning my wounds with careful, deliberate movements. The handler's mistake was treating it like cargo instead of a sentient being. Their culture considers forced restraint equivalent to attempted murder. And so it murdered them first. Self-defense, Okoye corrected. By their legal standards, at least. Our standards are more complicated. She finished bandaging my shoulder, then looked at the creature. "May I?" I felt rather than heard my companion's agreement. Okoye approached slowly, her crystalline cat watching from a safe distance. She held out her hand the way I had, letting the creature choose whether to accept the touch. After a moment's consideration, it pressed its muzzle to her palm. "Remarkable," she breathed. "I can feel its resonance. It's attuned to your biorhythms completely. Heart rate, breathing, even hormone levels. It knows what you're feeling before you do." She pulled back, shaking her head in wonder. "The Queen chose well. This one will defend you against threats you don't even recognize yet. Or it'll kill me in my sleep." No, Okoye's certainty matched my own. That bond goes both ways. It needs you as much as you need it. That's what matching means. The conference room was smaller than I expected, intimate rather than formal. The Zakhtari ambassador waited inside. Her silver crest feathers dimmed in what I'd learned to recognize as mourning. 2 other Zakhtari flanked her, younger ones with bright copper coloring. No guards, no weapons. A statement of trust, or maybe resignation. "Specialist Vance," the ambassador said, her translation coming through clear and precise. "I am Ambassador Keeliath. I have come to offer the Queen's deepest regrets for what transpired. 12 of your people are dead. 12 of our people violated sacred protocols and paid the price. The Queen predicted this outcome when she learned they had restrained your companion. She sent orders to release it immediately, but Keeliath's crest feathers rippled. The message arrived too late. I sat down, my companion settling beside me on the floor. Its presence was already becoming familiar, comforting even. Why this one? Everyone else got something manageable. Why did she match me with something so dangerous? Because you needed dangerous. Keeliath leaned forward. The Queen sees future paths, possible outcomes. She saw you dying in 6 different timelines over the next year. Assassination, sabotage, betrayal, threats that hadn't yet materialized but were inevitable. She needed to give you a guardian capable of preventing all 6. The words hung in the air like smoke. Someone's going to try to kill me? Someone is already trying. They simply haven't acted yet. Kellyeth gestured to my companion. This one sensed the markers in your biochemistry, subtle poisons being introduced through your food supply, designed to weaken your immune system over months. It smelled the residue on you from across the void and called for you because it recognized you were dying slowly. My stomach clenched. Poison? For how long? 3 months, according to your ship's investigation. Someone has been dosing your replicator with trace amounts of xenoform. Nothing immediately fatal, but over time it would have caused cascading organ failure. Her crest brightened slightly. Your companion's regenerative abilities will purge it from your system within days. I looked at the creature beside me, seeing it with new eyes. Not a monster assigned to me by mistake, but a guardian chosen specifically to save my life. Who? Who's poisoning me? We don't know yet. The Queen's visions show possibilities, not certainties. But someone aboard this ship wants you dead badly enough to risk slow poisoning. Kellyeth stood. Your companion will help you identify them. It can smell intent, read biomarkers that indicate deception and hostility. With it at your side, your would-be assassin can't hide. Marshall, who'd been standing silently in the corner, finally spoke. This puts us in an interesting position, Ambassador. One of my crew is a traitor, and we're relying on an alien predator to identify them. You're relying on the Queen's wisdom, Captain. The predator is simply her chosen instrument. Kellyeth turned back to me. But Specialist Vance must complete the bonding ceremony properly. Without it, his companion will remain in partial defense mode, protective but unable to communicate fully. The ceremony will establish complete resonance between them. What does this ceremony involve? Truth. Complete honesty between bonded partners. You must show your companion your deepest fear, and it must show you the same. Only then will you understand each other fully. She paused. The ceremony can be dangerous. If either of you rejects what you see, the bond breaks permanently. Given your companion's nature, rejection might be fatal. Of course it might, I muttered. But looking at the creature beside me, feeling its steady presence and the warmth of its protection, I knew I didn't really have a choice. Someone wanted me dead. This thing, my companion, had crossed the void to save me. Rejecting that seemed not just foolish but morally wrong. When? I asked. Tonight, if you're willing. We have prepared a ceremonial space. It'll take approximately 3 hours. Marshall's hand found my shoulder, his grip firm. You don't have to do this, Vance. We can find the traitor through conventional investigation. In how many of the Queen's timelines did conventional investigation work, Captain? Marshall's silence was answer enough. Finally, he nodded. Do what you need to do. But I'm posting guards outside the ceremonial space. If things go wrong, they won't, I said, surprising myself with my certainty. My companion's throat pulsed agreement. Bond trust complete. The ceremonial space turned out to be a converted cargo bay, now draped with Joctari fabrics that shimmered with embedded bioluminescence. The patterns reminded me of my companion's throat light, and I wondered if that was intentional. Kellyeth and her assistants arranged cushions on the floor, then produced a bowl filled with liquid that glowed faintly blue. This is Sevic, Kellyeth explained. It lowers inhibitions and enhances empathic resonance. Both of you must drink. Both of us? I looked at my companion skeptically. How exactly does it drink? As if in answer, the creature's throat opened wider, revealing a feeding cavity I hadn't noticed before. Kellyeth poured half the Sevic into the cavity, and my companion's throat pulsed as it absorbed the liquid. Then she offered me the bowl. I drank. The Sevic tasted like ocean water mixed with metal and starlight. Impossible to describe, but impossible to forget. Within minutes, the world began to shift. The ceremonial space's boundaries blurred, and I felt my companion's presence not just beside me, but inside me, our thoughts beginning to merge at the edges. Fear spiked through me. Not mine, theirs. The creature was afraid. Terrified, actually, in ways its predatory exterior never suggested. Show each other, Kellyeth whispered from somewhere distant. Show your truths. I fell into my companion's mind like diving into deep water, and there, written in sensory memories I shouldn't be able to understand but somehow did, I saw its truth. Saw its homeworld, a place of endless hunting and brutal hierarchy. Saw it as a juvenile, smaller and weaker, cast out by its pack for being different, too empathic, too aware of others' pain. Saw it wandering alone until it nearly died, until hunger and loneliness became indistinguishable from each other, and then saw it hearing the Queen's call, feeling my resonance across the void like a beacon. Saw it volunteering for the matching program not because it wanted to leave its world, but because it desperately needed to belong somewhere. To someone. To a pack that wouldn't reject its nature. The fear I felt was rejection. It feared I would see its truth, that it was an outcast, damaged and desperate, and turn away. That I would be like its birth pack, unable to accept what made it different. My turn. The mental tide reversed, and my companion plunged into my memories with the same desperate hunger I'd felt from it. I couldn't hide anything. It saw my childhood, saw my father's disappointment when I chose military service over medical school, saw my first combat deployment, saw the friend who died because I hesitated at a critical moment, saw how that hesitation had haunted me, made me second-guess every decision, turned me into someone who stayed in the background, took support roles, never trusted my own judgment again, saw how I'd volunteered for this deep space assignment to escape Earth, to run from the memory of failure. The creature dug deeper, finding the fear I'd buried so deep I'd almost forgotten it. The fear that I was fundamentally broken, that my hesitation wasn't circumstantial but essential, that I couldn't be trusted when things mattered most, that I would fail again and someone else would pay the price. We surfaced together, both of us shaking from the intimacy of complete exposure. The ceremonial space resolved around us, but it felt different now. The air hummed with connection, with understanding that went beyond language or species. My companion's throat pulsed, but I didn't need the translation implant anymore. I felt its meaning directly. Outcast, broken, same. Yeah, I whispered. Same. Pack accepts broken. If you accept mine, I accept yours. The creature moved closer, pressing its full weight against me. Not threatening, but seeking comfort the way a wounded animal might. I wrapped my arms around it, feeling the warmth and muscle beneath skin I'd once thought monstrous. We stayed like that, two damaged things from different worlds, finding in each other what we'd both been missing. Kellieth's voice reached us from far away. The bond is complete. You are matched truly now, not by the Queen's wisdom alone, but by your own choice. I felt the change immediately. My senses expanded, borrowing my companion's sharper perception. I could smell things I'd never noticed before. Trace chemicals, emotional markers, the subtle wrongness that clung to certain people and places. And through the bond, I felt my companion's relief, its joy at finally belonging. We need a name, I said aloud. I can't keep calling you my companion. Images flooded through our connection. Not words, but concepts, feelings, the essence of what my companion wanted to be called. I sorted through them, trying to find human phonemes that captured the meaning. Finally, I settled on something close enough. Keth, I said. Short for Ketherus. It means shadow that guards in one of the old Earth languages. Keth's throat flared brilliant blue, accepted, claimed, named. All right, Keth. I stood, still feeling unsteady from the Sevic and the intensity of the bonding. Let's go find whoever's trying to kill me. Marshall met us outside the cargo bay, his expression carefully neutral, but his fox companion gave us away, chittering excitedly and leaping from Marshall's shoulder toward Keth. To my surprise, Keth caught the small creature gently in one massive paw, bringing it close enough to exchange scent markers. The fox chirped approval. Well, Marshall said, that's new. Shen usually hates everyone. He studied us both. You look different, Vance. I feel different, sir. The bond changed something. I let my new senses stretch out, sampling the air, reading the subtle markers Keth's instincts now made visible to me. And I think I can help find our traitor now. Keth can smell things I can't consciously detect, but through the bond, I can interpret what he senses. Close enough. Their species doesn't map exactly to human gender, but Keth feels masculine to me. I shrugged. Point is, we can work together now. Really, together. Marshall nodded slowly. Then let's put that to the test. We've narrowed the poisoning suspects to 5 people. All had access to your replicator, and all have gaps in their activity logs during the relevant periods. He pulled up a datapad. I need you to interview each of them. See if Keth reacts. Sir, if Keth reacts the way I think he might, we could have another body count. Then don't let him react. That's what the bond is for. Control. If you can't keep your companion from killing suspects, you're both getting locked in a containment cell. It was a fair point, much as I hated to admit it. Understood. Set up the interviews. The first suspect was Jenkins, the man who'd received the floating jellyfish. He seemed nervous when he entered the interview room, which made sense given Keth's presence. My companion lay beside my chair, deceptively calm, but I felt his attention focusing on Jenkins like a targeting laser. "You wanted to see me?" Jenkins asked, his eyes darting between me and Keth. "Just checking in with everyone who had access to my quarters, making sure nobody saw anything unusual." I kept my voice casual, watching Jenkins while feeling Keth's analysis through our bond. Fear markers, yes, but that was normal given the situation. Elevated cortisol, increased heart rate, also normal. Nothing that suggested guilt, just reasonable anxiety. Keth's throat pulsed, not threat. "You're clear, Jenkins. Thanks for your time." The second and third suspects showed similar patterns, fear but no guilt. By the fourth, I was beginning to wonder if our method was flawed. Then Dr. Reeves entered the room, and everything changed. Keth's body went rigid beside me, throat flaring bright enough to illuminate the room. Through our bond, I felt what he sensed, markers I couldn't consciously name but understood instinctively. This was guilt. This was intent. This was the person who'd been poisoning me. "Dr. Reeves," I said carefully, keeping my hand on Keth's shoulder, "thank you for coming." She sat down, her movements a fraction too controlled. "Of course. Though I'm not sure why I'm being questioned. I barely know you, Specialist." "That's what's interesting. You barely know me, but you requested access to my quarters twice last month for equipment maintenance. Maintenance of what exactly?" "The replicator showed signs of malfunction. Standard protocol is to notify the user first." "You didn't." I felt Keth's certainty through our bond, felt his desire to act. I squeezed his shoulder gently. "Not yet." "Want to explain why?" Reeves' expression never changed, but I saw the shift in her biomarkers that Keth read so clearly. Fight or flight response activating. Decision matrix shifting toward aggression. "I think," she said slowly, "that you've made a serious mistake, Specialist." Her hand moved toward her pocket. Keth exploded into motion before I could blink, his body covering mine as Reeves pulled a small weapon, a pulse pistol, military grade. The shot went wide, hitting the wall behind us. Keth's snarl rattled the room, but he didn't attack, didn't leap for her throat, even though every instinct probably screamed for him to do so. Instead, he held position, protecting me while giving her a chance to surrender. Marshall's training had been thorough, so had mine. I kicked the table toward Reeves, disrupting her aim for her second shot. Security burst through the door, weapons trained on her. She dropped the pistol. "Why?" I asked, genuinely curious now. "I've never done anything to you?" "Because you don't deserve it," she spat. "Any of it. You're a coward who ran from Earth to hide in space, and somehow the Jacques Derai chose you for their matching program. Chose you over people who actually matter." Her face twisted with bitterness. "I've dedicated my life to xenobiology, and they gave me nothing. But you get a guardian worth more than everything I've ever achieved." Understanding hit me. Not about the poison or the attempt on my life, but about the deeper truth Keth had sensed in Reeves.
She wasn't just angry.
She was broken in a way that mirrored my own brokenness, but while I'd found something to heal with, she'd found only resentment. "The Queen doesn't make mistakes," I said quietly. "She matched me with Keth because we needed each other. Maybe you were rejected not because you don't matter, but because you're not ready for what matching requires." "Which is what?" "Acceptance. Of yourself, of your flaws, of your need for connection." I thought of the ceremony, of showing Keth my deepest shame and having it accepted without judgment. You wanted the prestige of being chosen, but you never wanted to actually bond. Security took Reeves away. Marshall stayed behind, his expression thoughtful. "The Queen knew," he said. "Knew Reeves would react this way? She saw the probability. That's why Keth was chosen for me. He could detect the threat and protect against it." I looked at my companion, feeling the pride and satisfaction flowing through our bond. "We passed the test." "First test," Marshall corrected. "The Queen saw 6 assassination attempts, remember? Reeves was just the first." Sid sighed. "Looks like you and Keth are going to be very busy." Over the next weeks, the pattern became clear. I'd been matched with Keth, not despite the danger he represented, but because of it. The Queen had seen futures where humanity's integration with alien species sparked violent resistance. Saw that people like Reeves would react to the matching program with jealousy and rage. Saw that someone needed to stand against that reaction, and that someone would need a guardian capable of detecting and neutralizing threats that looked like friends. Keth and I became the program's de facto security specialists. We investigated suspicious activity, vetted new applicants, and protected other matched pairs from attacks. 5 more times over the following months, someone tried to kill me. 5 more times, Keth's instincts in our bond kept me alive. And each time I understood the Queen's choice better. I'd been afraid I was broken, that my hesitation made me useless. But the Queen had seen something different. She'd seen someone whose caution, combined with Keth's aggression, created a perfect balance. Someone who would always look twice before acting, but who would act decisively when necessary because Keth's certainty supported my doubt. The other crew members stopped fearing Keth after he saved Dr. Okoye from an sabotaged airlock. Stopped seeing him as a monster and started seeing him as a guardian who just happened to be terrifying. Jenkins' jellyfish even started harmonizing with Keth's bioluminescence, creating patterns that soothed the entire crew during high-stress situations. One night, 6 months after our bonding, I sat with Keth in the observation deck, watching stars stream past. Through our connection, I felt his contentment, deep and genuine. He'd found his pack, found his purpose, found acceptance. "Thank you," I said aloud, knowing he understood perfectly through the bond. His throat pulsed. Gratitude, mutual pack, complete. Think the Queen knew we'd be happy? Not just safe, but actually happy. Chosen for joy and survival. I laughed, scratching behind the ridge where Keth's head met his neck. He leaned into the touch, that purr vibration rumbling through us both. Whatever the Queen had seen in her visions, whatever futures she'd prevented by matching us, I was grateful. Grateful for the danger that had brought us together, grateful for the brokenness we shared, grateful for every moment of connection that proved we were stronger together than we'd ever been apart. Everyone else had gotten normal mates. I'd gotten Keth, and I wouldn't trade him for anything in the universe. The comm chimed. Marshall's voice came through, urgent but not panicked. "Vance, we have a situation. Unknown vessel approaching with hostile intent. How fast can you and Keth get to the bridge?" I stood, feeling Keth rise beside me, our movements already synchronized. "On our way, sir." As we ran through the corridors, I felt Keth's combat readiness building, felt his absolute confidence in our ability to face whatever came next. The Queen had given me more than a guardian. She'd given me a partner who believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself, who turned my greatest weakness, my hesitation, my caution, my fear of making the wrong choice, into our greatest strength. We reached the bridge. The view screen showed a ship I didn't recognize, weapons hot and closing fast. Marshall looked at me, at Keth, then nodded. "They're demanding we hand over all matched pairs. Say the program is an abomination against nature. They're willing to destroy this ship to prove their point." His jaw tightened. "We need options." I felt Keth's awareness spreading through the ship, reading biomarkers and threat patterns, processing information faster than any computer. Through our bond, I understood what he sensed. The attacking ship's crew were desperate, ideological, dangerous but not trained. They were zealots, not soldiers. "They can be stopped without killing them," I said, the tactical plan forming as I spoke, my caution shaping Keth's aggressive instincts into something precise and effective. "But we need to board their ship. Keth can neutralize their weapon systems if we can get him close enough." "That's suicide. They'll shoot you the moment you dock." "No," I said, feeling Keth's absolute certainty mixing with my strategic thinking. "They'll hesitate just long enough. Because they're afraid and fear makes people pause. We can use that." Marshall studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled, sharp and approving. "The Queen doesn't make mistakes." "No, sir, she doesn't." 2 hours later, Keth and I stood on the enemy ship's bridge, surrounded by surrendered zealots. Not a single person had died. Keth had been terrifying enough to make them drop their weapons, but controlled enough to stop before anyone got hurt. My caution had guided his aggression, and his confidence had overcome my fear. Perfect balance, perfect match. The Queen had known. Across the void, through futures we'd never see, she'd known exactly what we both needed. Not normal mates who would comfort us or entertain us or simply coexist peacefully beside us. She'd given us each other. Given us the chance to transform our brokenness into strength, our fears into courage, our isolation into the most profound connection either of us had ever known. As Keth and I returned to the Covenant, walking side by side through corridors that no longer saw him as a monster but as a hero, I understood finally what matching really meant. It wasn't about finding someone similar. It was about finding someone complementary. Someone whose weaknesses you could shore up and whose strengths could lift you higher. Everyone else had gotten normal mates. I'd gotten something better. I'd gotten exactly what I needed, even though I never knew I needed it. And in return, Keth had found what he'd been searching for since his birth Pack cast him out: unconditional acceptance, absolute trust, and a purpose worth fighting for. We were Pack now, complete and unbreakable. And whatever challenges came next, whatever threats the Queen had foreseen in her 6 timelines, we'd face them together. The way we were always meant to,